Good evening and welcome to a very special, they're all special, pre-Greatest Royal Rumble edition of the Vintage Spoon Wrestling Podcast. We start out with another point of order. I'm sure there'll be more. We're very sorry about our post-WrestleMania show that doesn't exist.
Did we record one?
We recorded a 2-hour post-WrestleMania Vintage Spoon podcast, giving all of our thoughts on a weird WrestleMania, and then the recording software we use crashed, and we lost it. So that's gone. That's gone. That's never coming back. You're never going to hear our fascinating thoughts on
like Paige. It's gone and never coming back.
Never. Like Daniel Bryan. It'll never. In 3 years, we're gonna release that one. But we are back this week. We're going to have another crack. We're trying doing a video podcast this week, so if that works, you may see us. Hello if you can. Otherwise, it'll be a still image of someone holding a spoon, because we know you love those.
That's genius. Why have we never done that before?
I know. It's amazing, right? Let's do some introductions. I am joined, as usual, by the WrestleMania Ronda Rousey to my Monday Night Raw Ronda Rousey. Haven't used that one before in an episode that got deleted. Ross Humston. Ross, how you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, all good.
Busy week. Did you enjoy WrestleMania briefly?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it for the first half, and then the second half not so much. But, you know, it was good. It had some good moments, some weird video graphics, and some dwarfs as well, which was odd.
Oh, God, I forgot about those. And in even more impressively, perhaps, we are having a celebration tonight, because we are joined by the new Apex champion, Vintage Benjamin Shelley. I am so hyped about this, even more than when you won the belt that you made up yourself. This is an actual belt.
You should be.
How excited are you?
I'll be honest, it's still really not kicked in yet, because obviously I won it out in Italy. I think it'll really hit me when we did the first show back in Milton Keynes in front of the home crowd. That's when it'll feel real, I think.
So, briefly talk us through how it went down. You were on an Italian tour. What happened?
So we had one of the top wrestlers from an Italian promotion called FCW who flew over. He's called The Greatest, TG. He flew over back in March, it must have been, and he managed to beat the then champion Apex in Milton Keynes and took the belt with him back to Italy. He did a couple more shows around here, around Northampton, but essentially we weren't able to beat him, so he ended up flying back to Italy with our belt. And we flew out there. There was supposed to be 4 of us originally, but there ended up being 11 of us.
Invasion.
And it was really good because everyone got a match apart from Vintage Benjamin Shelley. He obviously was not good enough to face the talent they had out there. So instead I waited until a good opportunity and decided to cash in the briefcase after TG had received a beatdown from someone he'd managed to annoy earlier. I was going to swear. I was going to use a swear, but I stopped myself.
Don't swear anymore. So you might say you pulled the heist of the century.
The heist of the millennium.
The heist of the millennium. But didn't have to take a flying RKO for your troubles. That is amazing. That's really exciting.
So I didn't get a formal introduction though. Surely I am the AJ Styles to your Shinsuke Nakamura.
That's in.
And Ross is the punch in the dick.
Ross is the constant dick punch. I think we're going to go all over the place with this show, I think, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. But I've got to start off by saying
shout-outs.
Shout-outs to
Nick.
Hello, Nick.
To Damien.
Jake the Snake Roberts' his snake?
No, it's Nick's brother-in-law who was watching.
Oh, cool. Hey, Damien.
Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Paul's cat.
Hello, Paul's cat.
Hey.
Alice.
Hi, Alice.
Alice.
Flex.
Hi, Flex Flanders.
Hey,
You're
Flex.
not a porn star.
And Jennifer Louise, obviously, from another less popular YouTube
Jennifer
channel.
Louise, we're sorry that Vintage keeps stealing your segment for our show. Don't get angry.
And also a shout out to all the WWE ladies who have had breast augmentation surgery.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
All three of them.
Do you have a list that says that to hand?
8 minutes. 8 minutes in. 8 minutes in.
Oh my god. I hope the greatest comes back and takes your title away. That is
Never say never.
outrageous. Right. So we got lots.
Do you want to name them?
Do I want to? I don't have that. I'm not you or Dave Meltzer.
So it's you know who Bliss. I can't say her name. Obviously.
It's because we might accidentally trigger your device.
Yes,
Oh.
and then the two iconics who I can't name because I don't know what their names are.
Their names are Peyton Royce and Billy Kay.
I can't believe you said that about them.
I hate their entrance theme. Their entrance theme. I hate it.
Really.
It's just really, and it really grates on me, their entrance music.
That's the
Just
point.
That's the point. Yeah, that is the point. They're supposed to be annoying.
I don't care.
They're really annoying. I think they're almost, I think they could be Miz good. I think they're Carmella good in terms of annoying heel. No, you're not a... Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get an agreement from you, number one Miz Carmella fan.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So...
We'll come back to them, yeah?
We will come back to them because we're going to talk about Superstar Shakeup first of all, unless anyone has anything to throw in before we do that. Let's talk about things that have shuffled around. A lot of talk about...
Hang on this day.
On this day in wrestling. Vintage, take it away.
It's almost like we don't have a run sheet or anything. Okay, so in 1992, ECW crowned their first champion. This was back before they were Extreme Championship Wrestling. This is when they were Instant Championship Wrestling.
Ooh.
And do we know who their champion was?
Terry Funk? I don't know.
No, it was...
Sabu.
No, you're not going to get it this right. It was Jimmy murdered his wife, Snooker.
Jimmy Snooker.
No, that's not what I said.
Well, for the sake of the podcast... you just want to make me do an edit, don't you? You can see I'm already drinking. For the sake of the podcast, these are unfounded allegations.
I found them.
Vintage breast augmentation Shelley is throwing these allegations out. What else happened? Jimmy Snooker, though, that's a good fact.
2009, Ring of Honor held a live event. And I don't recognise a lot of people on here, but I do recognise some. And there's 8 matches. We had the people that were on the card that might sound familiar back in 2009. Austin Aries.
Yep.
Roderick Strong.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan Danielson.
Ah.
Tyler Black. Obviously Seth Rollins. Chris Hero. Does that mean anything to you?
That's Cassius Ohno.
Kevin Steen.
Kevin Owens.
Jerry Lynn.
Nice.
And Colt Cabana, who's obviously never been on WWE.
No, he was. Colt Cabana had a short run in WWE, but not very long, and then became a podcaster of great renown.
But
that sounds like a stacked show.
Wait. Yeah. And also Claudio Castagnoli.
Oh, that was a trivia question once.
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously Ross remembers.
Yeah.
Cesaro.
Oh, literally the name of the quiz.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious because I didn't. The only reason it stood out to me was because of the quiz. I was like, that name looks familiar. I think that's Cesaro.
Oh wow, what a card! I wonder if that's a recording of that somewhere.
It's Ring of Honor, so
I wish I would. I don't want WWE to buy ROH because I think they're better independent. But also, God, it would be good if all their stuff was on the network.
Yeah,
there'd be some great. They used to show it on British TV, and it was just the best, just so good.
CM Punk, mate.
Always. Cool. Any more?
Well, let's finish off with 2010. WWE had Extreme Rules, which apparently featured Batista's final WWE pay-per-view appearance.
Really?
It doesn't sound right, does it? Because I'm sure he's been a run, but apparently,
when was WrestleMania 30? No, it wouldn't have. It would have been his last. It would have been his last appearance before before the Blue Tista returned. It would have been.
Anyway, let's move on if it's wrong.
It would have been because he would have. Because his Blue Tista run was sort of was only 4 years ago because we just had WrestleMania 34 and WrestleMania 30 he lost to Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
But I believe
so. Not counting that.
Not counting that. That was his. Was it against John Cena? And did he get an AA off a car?
Look, stop trying to ruin my segment. Let's move on.
Throwing facts out there.
How dare you? How dare you? I'm the one who unveils facts on this show. Alexa Bliss. Peyton Royce.
Stop. Enough. Let's talk about the Superstar Shakeup. Let's talk about some of the things that have happened, about how great Shinsuke Nakamura's dick punch is, and how weirdly unbalanced the rosters suddenly seem to be. So we'll start with Raw. I think by the end of it, someone did the maths on it and worked out by the end of Raw, the SmackDown roster was about 4 people. Because there'd been sort of so many people, they'd done all the changes on one side but hadn't announced who was going over. And then by the end of it, everyone had just moved to SmackDown. So who are some of the big gets for Raw? Because it's not loads. Bobby Lashley, finally, Ross. Bobby Lashley after all the operations.
with his painted on eyebrows. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And there's delayed suplex, which that was a... It was an exciting move when the British Bulldog was doing it in 1992. So don't fix what ain't broken. Who else did we get? Drew is the most exciting thing of all. Drew McIntyre is finally back on the main roster. He looks like a monster. I think he could be really, really strong on there. He's teaming with Dolph because he's from NXT. So. You got to hang out with Dolph Ziggler for a bit. That's the rule.
Show him the ropes, show him the ropes.
I hated this. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, their entrance music is even more messed up now. Now that, sort of they're a tag team kind of thing. I think it was this week they came out, and it was obviously Drew McIntyre's music hit. And then halfway through, the record scratch again, no music, and then Dolph Ziggler's music. It just makes no sense. Why is the record scratch first? It's like, we better put Dolph Ziggler's music on.
I have always hated this thing of trying to just play both people's music, or little bits of both people's music for when you have a team that are kind of... 2 separate people. Just play one of them.
The Woken team as well.
Yeah, Woken are doing it as well, and it's just annoys me.
Sounds
so
awful.
Much. Don't do it. I hated this when I first saw it because I genuinely think Drew McIntyre is main event heel material. I think he should be, maybe not now, but I think he is bound for the main event. I think he will hold world titles while he's with the company.
I hope so. We need a British champion.
Yeah. And he's that good. But I don't see what putting him with Ziggler does. I don't see what putting him in a really, really diminished tag division does. But maybe they're doing a kind of a Shawn Michaels Diesel thing. Maybe he's like Dolph Ziggler's big guy. And then it means the whole thing is set up to eventually get him over when he turns on Ziggler, which I hope it doesn't take long, because as cool as their finisher is, I don't really want to see much of that. Who else do we get? So they got Ember Moon.
I was going to say there was a lot of call-ups during this period.
Yeah.
Which we might talk about later. KO and Sami Zayn.
KO and Sami, who did a fantastic promo on Kurt Angle on this week's Raw. About everyone's forgotten about Jason Jordan. Chad Gable got brought over, but on Twitter, not on not on the main one, not on the main show.
Baron losing his hair, Corbin.
Baron Corbin, who is now feuding with No Way Jose.
No Way Jose.
The thinking man's Adam Rose.
I can see him dropping out to No Way Jose and then just getting released.
I could see that. I could totally see that. Ross and I have tickets for an upcoming Raw, the one that's coming to the UK. And I think we're going to see No Way Jose versus Baron Corbin in some form, which is not something I ever thought I would pay to see. But there you go. You don't get to choose things. Maybe we'll get to see Drew at least.
Just quickly, I thought it was quite funny that the Riot Squad and Absolution have changed round because Absolution wasn't a full team anymore, so they've got to make sure they've got a full team on SmackDown, on Raw, sorry. And what would really make me laugh is if Mandy Rose got hurt and then they just parachuted in Liv Morgan, so it's like they've got a whole substitute team, so they can three women stable.
Just completely rotate them.
They've got some built-in redundancy there. That was a smart move by WWE.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of those women are just there until the Royal Rumble, the actual Royal Rumble that they're allowed to be in comes around. Yeah. So they can fill that out. There was a nice thing. One thing about Riot Squad that I would say is this week's Raw ended with a 6-woman or an 8-woman tag, of course, because that's how they're ending shows.
10 women.
10 women, because they've got too many people. So big tag matches, throw everyone together.
It was equal opportunities because I had a 10-man tag match on Raw.
Yeah, because both rosters are a bit overloaded. But in the course of that, the big thing, of course, that happened is Ronda Rousey gets into a fight with Mickie James. And it seems like she's got a program where she's Natalia's best friend, which means Natalia will definitely betray her at some point because that's how wrestling works. But I actually think that's quite a good idea. I think if you've got this Ronda Rousey who's done a great job on a match that they've rehearsed for months and months. The WrestleMania match was the best match on the card, blew everything away, but she does still need room to develop. Mickie James is the perfect person to put her with to help her practice and develop, get better before her next big show. And then after that, hopefully, a betrayal from Natalya, that gives her another few months of working with Natalya, who is another brilliant person to learn from in the ring. So I think she'll be really good by the end of this program. Also, Ruby Riott looked really good in that match, especially against Nia Jax. I hope she is the next person who goes for Nia Jax's title. I think she could. I don't think she should win the title yet, but I think she could do a main event program in that roster. What other any other call ups for Raw or SmackDown? For Raw, or should we do SmackDown?
One last one for Raw, and I'm surprised that we've missed it for so long because it was hyped up as being the biggest announcement on the whole Raw show. Can you remember what it was?
Was it Nicholas?
It was Bobby Roode being in the main event.
Oh my god! Yeah, how much has changed where we just do not care about Bobby Roode anymore? Oh my goodness, they should.
Do you remember how much they hyped it up though in the main event?
Yeah, it was massive.
A huge superstar.
There was the weird. Oh, I know what we should talk about from Raw actually. Jinder Mahal, with his new US title, dropped it immediately to a returning Jeff Hardy after a weird thing where Randy Orton came out and then just couldn't be bothered. I don't think he was even on Raw at that point, and he didn't get transferred. He just turned up just so he could be like, meh, all right, hi. And then left again.
I'm still here, guys.
Hey, gotta be collecting my paycheck. But the main thing is that it was probably Jinder's best match. It was a pretty good match against Jeff. I mean, he had an awful match with Chad Gable this week. So let's let's not go getting too excited. But he had a good match with Jeff. Jeff takes the title, goes back over to SmackDown. And then everyone went to SmackDown. Everyone is on SmackDown. They've got Styles and Nakamura still. They've got Joe. Yeah. Miz. They've got the Bar.
Asuka.
Big Cass. Asuka. Yep. They got
Sin Cara.
Oh yeah, Sin Cara. Can't forget that. I mean, they've lost Breezango and the Ascension, so let's.
Truth.
Oh, Truth. Yes, the immortal one. The immortal one. I think they were introduced as
the Club.
They got the Club. That's it's all right. They're basically doing the same thing. They're backing up AJ instead of backing up Finn. Finn, Lord knows where he is, other than hanging out with Seth Rollins, like Seth Rollins' nerdy mate, just kind of
always smiling now as well.
Yeah, he's got this big Mark grin on his face, like Ronda Rousey. Like he's just really chuffed to be hanging out with Seth Rollins. They
had 2 call-ups in the form of Sanity and Mexican dude without a mask.
Almas. Andrade Cien.
We haven't seen them yet, have we?
No, they've trailered them twice in a row. That was the weird thing. There's a lot of talk about how exciting SmackDown was. I really didn't dig the episode of SmackDown with the call-up, because there were so many call-ups that weren't on the show, and so many transfers that weren't on the show. And in the middle of it, we had like a singles match between Luke Harper and Jey Uso. And it's like, really? Did we need to see that here when you've got Sanity and Almas and all these great people coming over, and you're just not going to give them any time to do anything? No, all right. You're going to put the Bar on in a little mobile phone bit, and we're going to see this. The only reason I can think that they're doing this into today is that they're keeping, in the case of Sanity, they're keeping them back until after Greatest Royal Rumble, or maybe even after Backlash, when the feud with the Usos will be over, and then they're going to have Sanity come in as kind of the outsiders and do like an invasion thing against the Bludgeon Brothers, and that'll be the feud, which will be all right.
The thing that annoys me is the whole Naomi insertion into that feud. It turns out now that Naomi's won the women's battle royal back at WrestleMania, she's now too good to wrestle with other women. She has to get involved in this tag feud for some reason.
Yeah, and it's kind of, for
this weekend, she won't be there on Friday.
No, they'll be
we
safe.
Will not. Yeah,
safe from that distraction. I mean, I've never thought of the Bludgeon Brothers as being a team that would be distracted by somebody dancing.
What is this thing? Dancing.
And why have they not beaten her up? Oh, because it doesn't even work, because they can't even get any heat on her.
Yeah. My wife made a good point about the Bludgeon Brothers when we were watching them when I was kind of making her watch SmackDown.
This is going to be good, isn't it?
No, she pointed out that with their masks, and she just burst out laughing when Rowan took off his mask and that huge beard fell out. And pointed out that for it to work under that mask, his beard must be kind of folded up in his face while he's going down. So he's just kind of he's got a face full of orange beard until he can finally take that thing off.
That must stink as well.
It must be horrible. And he's been doing that his entire run. It's like 6 years or something he's been wearing that mask.
Okay, let's talk about the Iconics. Right.
All right, let's talk. You want to talk about the Iconics? Tell me about the Iconics.
Okay, we talked about their boobs, so we've put that to bed.
You've talked about their boobs. Let's not make this a group.
You did as well, because I didn't know what their names were.
Okay, tell us what your opinion is on the. You have strong opinions on the Iconics.
I really like their mic work and their character work. I think that is brilliant, and that's really good, and it works. And it's the bullying gimmick without being too much.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Alexa's was probably too much. It works. It's on point.
Yeah.
But I think their ring work isn't good enough. And I put it down to this one situation. I'm probably being too unfair. It was, and I remember it really vividly because it was when Carmella cashed in. So it was obviously the best moment of the year, wrestling year so far.
Yeah.
It was the bit where they gave her a beat down and she was on the outside, and the two of them couldn't get her back into the ring.
Okay.
They couldn't get Charlotte back into the ring. They just weren't physically strong enough to lift her up and put her in the ring.
I missed that.
Yeah. I'll find it for you on YouTube. It's really awful.
Oh, that's a shame. I'm sort of lukewarm on Billy Kay. I like him as a team. I think Peyton Royce is a real talent. There was a time in NXT just after Asuka left, where they hadn't quite crowned Ember Moon as the successor, and they were making this big thing about who was going to be the next woman to take the title, because it was a vacant title. There was a big tournament for it, all sorts of different things. Lots of people got over, but Peyton Royce was the sort of heel underdog in that. She was in that kind of Miz role where you're like, they just needed a heel to put in this, but she's not really on the level of the babyface characters that are in this match. And she massively brought up the level in that. She really, really pushed it. So I think she did a cracking job there. So she is capable of some really good stuff. She's capable of a good match. Maybe she's been out of the ring for quite a while. I guess getting ready to move up, but they disappeared from NXT.
That's not why she was off TV. You know that she was off TV
for one reason or another.
It's the reason I'm telling you.
We don't know what the reasons are.
From surgery. Where's Alexa at the moment?
I don't know where I don't know what Alexa Bliss is doing. I assume doing something charming with Braun Strowman. As part of that, I missed the mixed match challenge.
Who's next? Who's our bet to get press augmentation next?
No.
That's is our next section.
That's the vintage quiz for this week.
Who's next? Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I mean,
The Rock needs to be Jinder. He's doing his all on his own.
The Rock's already had his.
Yeah.
I mean, Triple H needs something to control that weird jiggle that happened at WrestleMania. They were live on that show.
To be fair, all the steroids that Jinder Mahal's taken is kind of causing him to get some.
We don't know that Jinder Mahal has taken steroids. I don't personally believe he has.
Jinder knows.
I don't think he has. I think he's too nice a guy and too hard a worker. This is the great irony: is I quite like Jinder Mahal. Everyone quite likes Jinder Mahal.
But you're drinking quite a lot of wine at the moment.
I've had a few of these, so don't trust my opinion on Jinder. Right, let's talk about the greatest Royal Rumble, because that's coming up on Friday at 5 p.m.
If it's anything less than great, I'll be disappointed.
Well, exactly. I mean, traditionally, the greatest Royal Rumble is what, 92 maybe? So It's got to be better than Ric Flair lasting over an hour with Bobby Heenan turning in the commentary equivalent of a Da Vinci painting. So it's got stiff competition. We won't lie. It's so weird that they're sort of having to promote this, and then Backlash is a week later, so they're having to promote sort of two things, and one of them's kind of a house show, but not. And what do we think in general about the Greatest Royal Rumble?
Just quickly, because I don't have much to say on it,
okay.
And then I'll let Ross go. I think that point about the fact they're trying to hype two shows at the same time is hilarious. The fact that you've got Charlotte and Carmella feuding over a match at Backlash and everyone else talking about the show this Friday.
Yes.
And then go on.
No, go on.
And then the other thing I was going to say is it's quite worrying that they're able to put 50 people 50 male wrestlers in a Royal Rumble because the roster's that big, and we might come back to that maybe later.
Yeah. Maybe.
I just like the fact that they're already announced a match with Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe even before he's had his match at the Greatest Royal Rumble. They're not. It's just very weird as well, because Samoa Joe's on SmackDown and Roman Reigns is on Raw, and he's like, "Oh yeah, if you win the title, I'll take it from you." But then that would never happen because they won't bring the Universal title over to SmackDown.
Yeah.
Because then you've got two titles on SmackDown, which would never happen unless they do the thing where they both switch, I guess. But I don't know.
that is only, I think that whole ridiculous situation has been saved by the fact that Joe is so good at promos. I think he's held this whole ridiculous thing. He's just like, I know it doesn't make any sense that I'm going to beat you up. I'm just going to beat you up because I'm Samoa Joe. That's why that's why I'm going to do that. So don't ignore the reasons for it. I'm on a different show now, but I'm still going to fight you because I like to fight. 'Cause I'm a big fighty man. I could not be less excited about the Greatest Royal Rumble. Not to undersell this segment of our show, but it is a house show that has been bought and paid for by the Saudi royal family. So it is a private show, effectively, for one client.
It kind of reminds us of the birthday parties we do over here.
Yeah.
Milton Keynes and Northampton.
That's essentially the same thing. That's what it is. Yeah. But, it's also a kind of propaganda exercise because we know there's a lot of stuff about ticket. You can only buy family tickets for it. Obviously, there are no women can buy tickets for the show on their own. Men who are on their own can only buy tickets for the bits that are off camera, so that the bits that are on camera is all families, because it's meant to make Saudi look like a family environment, even though there will be no women on the actual show itself. We will not have any female wrestlers. And there are almost certainly going to be some big moments. There are going to be probably a few big surprises, a couple of title changes, things that will actually matter. So we will sort of have to watch it. But they're only happening because they've literally been paid lots of money to make sure that they book impressive things, because that's what the client wants. It
is mental that you could just throw loads of money at WWE. I've got a birthday coming up. We've got a 30th birthday. I'll give you 50 million, and can you put on a pay-per-view for me? Imagine just the Saudi family, the only ones in this entire arena, just sitting there, just watching.
It could be, but it's the fact that it's not just that they're putting it on. It's the fact that we want you to put it on, but also it needs to be slightly bigger. It needs to have the same name as your other show, but be made to sound better.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that there is something important that happens at it.
The thing is, they've got to pay all those 50 people in the Rumble a wage as well.
Yeah.
So it's not even like it's going to be a cheap show. I'm wondering if that's on it to just show how much money is being pumped into it.
Oh, it is just a crazy amount of money that will be spent on this. I
am excited about the 50th round Rumble. I must admit that. The rest of the card, not so much, but I am generally excited about that. I might get, to be fair, when we get to like 33, I'll probably be fed up by then, but still.
They did a 40-man Rumble and it wasn't any better. But, a Royal Rumble's always kind of fun, even one with no prize and no reason. I'm not unfamiliar with this concept, certainly in sports. I write for Formula One. It is a standard thing in that sport, because that's a sport that needs a lot of money, is regimes in the Middle East, often ones with slightly sketchy human rights records, will pay an insane quantity of money to have the sport come and perform in their backyard and let them put it on and show what a great show they can do. And it's happening with the World Cup in the great footballing nation of Qatar. These things happen in sport. It's weird to have it happening in wrestling, which is kind of not quite a sport, but a TV show. It's like if a client or a royal family said, "Oh, we're gonna pay for this episode of Game of Thrones, but this character has to die."
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it makes sense for the story. And we're fairly sure.
Hasn't that been the way that show's been run up until now anyway?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm a bit like, I don't mind. Yeah. I like the Royal Rumble idea. The Royal Rumble, actually. I always like them because you see people that you don't ever usually see. Sometimes there's some surprises. It is going to be long, like 50 people. I more the thing of you know, Stephanie McMahon and their business choice to have like gone on so much about the women's revolution and all this stuff, and to have the women's Royal Rumble and the Battle Royale and stuff like that, to have all these big things, to then just totally, to me, like poo on it, like, you know, just to poo on their thing. I know it's money and they're going to do it because they need the money, but it just seems like really silly of them to just go back. It seems like they're going back.
I think what's really hilarious, and it kind of ties into something that I tagged you on Facebook earlier on, Spoon, which is the Balor Club being for everyone unless you're the Mr. Raj.
Yes.
Yeah.
Imagine Finn doing his empowered gay man gimmick in Saudi Arabia.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Please, I want him to come out as the demon with just rainbow tassels. That would be beautiful.
The tag that you tagged us in not so long ago, it was they were advertising the greatest Royal Rumble during the women's match. Like, what the hell?
I mean,
weird.
It's just a step up because they've done house shows in, I think even in Saudi before. They've certainly done a lot in Arab countries, and they have taken women's matches. They've not included women's matches on those at the request of the client, which for some reason seems, I mean, it's weird to us, but it somehow seems okay on a house show when it's being promoted as like an actual pay-per-view. That just seems really weird. That's what doesn't sit right, among various other bits. I guess one of the other things we should talk about, and I guess it will come up when we do our predictions, but we'll talk a little bit because it is the main sort of story of it. If Roman Reigns wins the Universal title from Brock Lesnar in a match that makes no sense, in a match that storyline-wise makes it like he has lost to Brock Lesnar convincingly again and again and again.
And why is it a cage?
And for some reason, he's been given a cage match for the title again for no reason. If he wins the title, is it good? Is it genius? Is it smart booking? Or is it just awful? What do you guys think?
Go on, you go first, Ross.
It would be... I see it as there will be a title change purely because it gives I don't know, like, yeah, it's very odd. In one hand, it could really be, I don't know. Like, it's really hard to like pinpoint. What do you think, Ben?
His new contract basically means he gets like $500,000 for each pay-per-view appearance. Hence why Roman's now feuding with Samoa Joe. It's just hideous. I wouldn't mind it. To be fair, I'd be much happier with it if it had another stipulation rather than being a cage match. If it was like last man standing, would have been perfect actually.
Yeah,
something like that. But I think it's the fact that they needed to have Brock on the show, really, didn't they? If it's going to be the greatest Royal Rumble, they have to have the show. Should we have a quiz?
Let's go for a quiz. It's bloody Royal Rumble. It's draining me. Let's do a quiz. I like quizzes more than this.
Okay, do you want something safe? Because I've actually got two options.
I want something where you don't talk about people's boobs.
Okay, deal. So we've got a fairly safe traditional format of the quiz, or we've got something a little bit spicier.
Ooh, let's go spicy. Let's go spicy.
Okay, so the spicy quiz is actually more of a discussion.
Okay.
So you can kind of work collaboratively. You can either. It's up to you. You can either work on your own.
Co-op quiz.
Yeah, it could be a co-op quiz. And when I say
quiz,
when I say quizzed, quotation marks, not so much a quiz. Essentially, I'm of the opinion, and I don't know how you guys feel, that there are too many wrestlers on this roster, both male and female. So I'm going to be Vince McMahon. Which one of you is going to be Steph?
I mean, I'll be Stephanie, definitely. I've got the hair for it.
Okay, so that makes Ross Triple H. Okay, so
no one's Shane.
So as well for this, you'll see why in a second.
Okay.
As Vince McMahon, I want you to get rid of some of these wrestlers because you've got too many wrestlers. I want you to get rid of 3 women and 5 men wrestlers.
3 women and 5 men. Okay.
You don't sound like Steph.
I'm not doing Steph.
So you got to release 3 women and 5 men off the roster.
3 women and 5 men. This is quite the challenge. Okay, so how do you want to do it? Do you want to go like one after the other, or?
No, just free-form discussion. It's more of a discussion point.
I think you can lose. I think you can lose the Miztourage. I'm
Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get rid of.
To be fair, it's probably too easy to just get rid of 2.5 tag teams. So let's say 5 acts, then 5 male acts and 3 female acts.
So I like the Miztourage, and I think it's criminal that 2 people of that talent haven't made more.
They've made a lot of Raws.
Yeah, they have, and they've been very good at it. But they're not. I don't see where they go after this joke run of we'd like to be your friends. No, you can't be my friends.
Yeah,
I don't see where they go after that. All right, so that's one.
Randy Orton.
Whoa!
There are going to be some controversial ones in here.
Can't lose Randy Orton. Randy Orton's money.
Is he?
Hey,
you've got to find the space.
Yeah, like get rid of him.
Is he more money than Roman, for example? You know, there are. It would be very easy to just get rid of all the jobbers, but you've got to remember you do need some jobbers because you need enhancement talent still. So it's no good just getting rid of all the chaff at the bottom. You do have to look at the likes of Randy in the mid card while pulling their weight.
Yeah.
Either Randy or Bobby Roode, I'd say.
You can have both. I mean, we've got 5. So
I just think Randy Orton. Obviously, I'm wearing his top, but so you know, I'm a real fan of his. I think his time. He can work backstage, you know. He can train some of the wrestlers. I just think his time. He needs to pass the torch. I think now Stephanie, we need to, you know, we need to pass the torch from some of these older guys to the younger guys and build these guys up, and then we can, you know how much I like Mojo Rawley, Stephanie. You know, I was talking about him.
Okay, you can. We can get rid of Randy Orton so long as we can bring out my favourite wrestler.
Ricardo Rodriguez.
I'm wearing all the local guys.
Oh, you fucking smark. Who else do we lose? Let's not go for boring ones. Let's not just say like Mojo Rawley because that's obvious. He's going nowhere. Who are some big names that are going nowhere? Dolph Ziggler is done to my mind. I have not cared about Dolph Ziggler in a long time. I was the biggest Ziggler fan in the world, but when was the last time you were excited to see Dolph Ziggler?
Well, you know, sometimes he says, "Hey Trip," you know, and he's really polite.
You're taking this really seriously. Love it.
But yes, Corbin. I agree with you. Yeah, yes, I was going to say Corbin as well.
He hasn't clicked yet, and there's no sign he's going to. He needs, you know, I think in a world where Vince McMahon can say that Cesaro hasn't grasped the brass ring, you know, Cesaro hasn't shown what he needs to show, then I don't think you can say that Baron Corbin has done that. Who else?
You could probably free up someone on the main event scene, maybe. You get rid of main eventer?
You want to get rid of a main eventer? Who
Bro,
why not? Can I lose Bobby Lashley? I'm not taking him. It's only been two. I don't know.
Whoa, Stephanie.
Fine.
You're my what? Brock Lesnar.
The Undertaker. Let's save ourselves one. Like, I mean, that only saves us like 2 matches a year. Losing both those guys, but it saves us millions.
You can get rid of both of them. So 2 part-timers can make a full-timer. There you go.
True. I think Taker. Who knows? Really, he wrestles when he wants to wrestle. He's worth so much money that you would be stupid not to put him on a card if you could. I think creatively, bringing him back was the wrong decision. But
how many women have we got?
Well, I thought we weren't doing the women like Saudi Arabia.
Dana Brooke.
Dana Brooke. Yeah, Dana Brooke's going nowhere. I like her, but yeah, she's not.
I said Becky Lynch.
Yeah, I was going to say Becky Lynch.
Really? I think Becky is still really popular, though. That's the thing. I think Becky probably does shift merch. And
she's not doing anything, though.
No, but she could be. And she gets a big pop whenever she comes out. You know, she's not dead weight on the roster.
What about Bailey? I threw Bailey in the mix. Under the bus.
I was going to say Bailey as well.
That's so sad, though, isn't it?
Yeah, really sad.
Can we say Lana if we just if we take her out and put her in and make her like a manager again? I just don't ever want to see her wrestle again. Oh, Tamina.
Tamina. Yeah.
Like, the person we forgot was even on the roster.
I actually remembered when I was thinking because I had Bailey, Becky, and then I was like, actually, I need a heel. And I thought Tamina.
I hope we're getting some women's tag titles to give us some a bit of space. I often would say Natalya, but I think actually she's too much of an asset as a kind of on-screen trainer.
And the fact that she's made the move now, which has done loads for her.
Yeah. You know, I think having her in, like we were saying with Ronda, I think having her in the ring to work with people and make them better, you know, they're great. And she's got cat ears, and she has the best taunt in wrestling.
Should we move on to predictions? Because we might be able to get this done under an hour.
Let's do this. I think we will. I don't think there's going to be a lot of discussion. Ross, you've got the card up, haven't you? Fire away. You're going to be in charge of these predictions.
So Cruiserweight Championship with Cedric Alexander who's the champion, versus Kalisto.
I'm glad you clarified because I didn't know otherwise. I think it is retention because it's Cedric Alexander. They're kind of building the division around him, aren't they? So he's going to keep it.
Yeah, they better. Yeah, Cedric Alexander. I want to see Kalisto take the lumbar check because I bet he bounces into the 3rd row. That would be hilarious. I'm
going to say Kalisto.
Oh,
why not? I'm just going to swerve. Most of these, I'm going to swerve them. Okay, the Raw Tag Team Champions, The Bar, versus Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. So they're championship, not the champions. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. I will say that Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt will win. I think.
I mean, it's a tricky one. For the Raw Tag Team titles, do we go for Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt or The Bar, who are from SmackDown? So do we say that
they are SmackDown, aren't they?
So do we say that The Bar are going to win the Raw Tag Team titles and then take them to SmackDown, where there will be a Raw title on SmackDown? It's possible. Or they've said they're going to win them and then go back, which is the sort of stupid booking they would do.
Yeah.
But it's going to be...
Why? That is so... I just realised that is... Yeah, they've just been moved. That is so stupid. Why make a match like that?
Because
stupid.
This is a private show for a client, and some people in the office just do not care.
Just shove the bar in there. They don't know. Yeah,
whatever. Given that you can only buy family tickets and everyone's having to like bring their partners and things, half the audience probably don't watch the show and have been dragged along so their partner could go. So they may not. It's Matt and Bray. They're building them. They're going to win it.
Vintage.
I was going to say the bar, do point out there on SmackDown because I thought that because I thought they hadn't feuded yet, and it would make more sense for the bar to be the champions than to have the Woken team chase them. But now with all of that, so thank you for going before me. I'm going to go Woken team.
Maybe they're going to do maybe they're going to do a CM Punk kind of thing where they're going to be like, we're going to win the titles and then we're leaving Monday Night Raw with your title. We're leaving Raw with your titles, and they're going to win the titles and blow a kiss to Vince McMahon and jump off over the barricades into the audience and be killed by the Saudi royal family's security.
Next,
United States Championship. Jeff Hardy, who is the champion, versus Jinder Mahal.
Jeffrey Hardy.
Dan, what do you think?
I reckon Jinder. I think this will be. They're going to want to throw a few swerves in to make it seem interesting. This is a swerve that they can easily do and then reverse next week. He's on blooming.
So Jinder is on.
Jinder's on the Raw show,
and Jeff is in SmackDown. So again,
the US title. No, I'm doing this. Jinder is going to win the US title, and he's taking it back to Raw. I'm going to go all in on this. Yes, he's going to win the US title.
They could switch the US and the Intercontinental over.
I have a theory on it. So yes, it's going to be Jinder.
That's a very good point, actually.
Yeah, Vintage. What do you think?
Let's go Jinder as well.
Yeah, I'm going to say Jinder.
Clean sweep for the Jind.
Yeah. Okay, now we've got The Undertaker versus Rusev in a casket match. Will they bury Rusev Day?
The irony of it all.
Yeah.
The irony.
The match that was happening, and then does anyone remember the exact the kayfabe story behind this match?
Yeah.
It's, as far as I remember, it's that Rusev was booked to fight The Undertaker for no reason, and then Lana pulled him out of the match because she was worried. But then she decided that actually Rusev isn't afraid of The Undertaker, so she rebooked the match because Lana is a booker now.
And this is all on Twitter.
This is all done on Twitter. Jericho just sounds confused about. Jericho was in the match for a bit. He just sounded confused about the whole thing on his podcast. He didn't really. He's just doing what he's told.
I wish I'd listened to that.
I'm gonna say The Undertaker.
I mean,
the fact of the matter is, Rusev's now back to being the heel on SmackDown. It's just ridiculous. But there was conspiracy theory that actually they were trying to choreograph a new Daniel Bryan angle with like a new Rusev Day movement. But I think it's just the fact that they don't like him, so they're just trying to mess him up so much that we stopped cheering for him.
So Undertaker. I think Rusev's going to do it. I think it's going to be a 2-minute match. It's going to be a long entrance. Undertaker will come out, and then one match kick into the casket, buried Rusev Day.
So you think Rusev will be the Undertaker? The only people that have beat like the Undertaker are like Brock Lesnar, and who was the last person that did it?
Roman Reigns.
That was it, Roman Reigns.
Yokozuna's beaten him in a casket match. He's a big lad. Rusev's a big lad.
Kane beaten him? Kane beat him in a buried alive match, didn't he?
Yeah, probably. I think he's then going to bury. Rusev's then going to bury the casket as well, just for good measure, and he's to stick a little Rusev Day flag in the top of it, and they'll see if that gets him over as a heel. To be fair, if anything's going to get him over as a heel,
Right, next.
John Cena versus Triple H for no reason.
Speaking of pointless matches.
Cena.
Why?
It's just a star power match, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. John Cena.
Big match, Jonathan.
He's got to have a win after getting absolutely decimated by The Undertaker. You'd think.
Both of them need a win, really, though, don't they?
Well, yeah, because Trips' career's in such jeopardy.
But the fact that Trips hasn't won a match for a little while, the last person he beat was Jinder, wasn't it, in India?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, in house shows, he's probably beaten quite a few people here and there. Last person he probably beat on TV was maybe Sting.
I don't think he does that many house shows, though, does he? Surely.
No, only occasionally. Only if they really need to, or if they're really trying to sell stuff, or they're short on people. No, I think John as well. I think Cena's going over on this one. It'd be a big crowd pop.
Vintage?
Oh, yes, Cena, because Cena needs it slightly more.
Yeah. Okay. Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Seth Rollins, the champion, take on The Miz versus Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe.
This could be really good.
Yeah. I am going to say The Miz. I'm going to say The Miz is going to win and take it over to SmackDown.
I agree. I think Miz is going to take the belt back because it lets them do the record-breaking Intercontinental thing, and still have a belt on each show.
And then they have room to feud with Daniel Bryan and The Miz, and Daniel Bryan can win the Intercontinental again. Probably, maybe.
He needs to get through the big cast though first.
This is true.
He needs to finish that program, but then by then Miz will have quite a nice title run.
Cast thing's just about parking Bryan for a little while, isn't it?
Vintage, what do you think?
Yeah, let's go Miz as well.
Yeah. WWE Championship. AJ Styles, the champion, versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
Can we also predict if there's going to be a dick punch as well?
I think it needs to be I think it should be one sip for every dick punch. If we're playing drinking rules, I think there will be many dick punches. It's my favorite. It's such a hilarious. Everything about Nakamura's heel turn has been fantastic.
Really good.
The pretending he doesn't speak English, the fact they've changed his theme song so you can't sing along to it anymore, the hilarious expressions he makes when he punches AJ in the dick. The fact that
Popper goes all the way around as well.
I know.
His whole...
to the point that it doesn't look like he's actually made contact with, like he's trying to punch him in the stomach. The stuff with stuff where he basically executed Carl Anderson in front of him was
that was really
good. This is a swerve they could easily pull. They could easily put the belt on Nakamura here. It doesn't do any harm to Styles, and certainly it should probably be on Nakamura. I think they will put it on Nakamura. I think Nakamura will win the title.
It's difficult for me. The thing is, if he doesn't win it this time, where do they go from here? But the other title's definitely changing hands, so are they going to change both titles? Maybe. Yeah, I'll go Shinsuke as well, just because they put so much effort into him, as you say. The fact that bothered to change his music as well kind of makes me believe that they will do it.
Yeah, I'm going to say Shinsuke as well. For
Wow.
the same reasons. Yeah.
There we go. I'm glad we never really do results of the predictions on this, because I'm pretty sure we've gone for the same person in all of them.
Yeah. You usually delete them anyway, Spoon. So.
Delete. I am the deleter of podcasts.
And then the Universal Championship Steel Cage match. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns.
Roman.
Yeah, I'm going to say Roman. I think they're going to do that thing where it's going to be a surprise. Well, they think it's going to be a surprise that it wasn't at WrestleMania. It was this Greatest Royal Rumble. I'm going
Broccoli Lesnar. I think it's a total work. All this stuff that he's doing. He's got £1 million an appearance, $1 million an appearance. All this stuff. I think he's just another guy sticking around. They're going to keep it on him. They're going for Bruno Sammartino's record. He's going to hold it for 7 years. And then he'll eventually drop it to Nicholas at WrestleMania 40.
Did you also just on SmackDown? Did you like when the great? when Jinder Mahal, not the Great Khali, when Jinder Mahal,
that's racist.
When Jinder Mahal said to Gable, I think it was Gable, that he was Nicholas. He inferred that he was Nicholas.
Yes. That was good.
I was like, oh, you really beefed up and everything. You got really big, man. How did that happen? And then he did a really awful joke about Mini-Me after that.
I know, that was...
Anyway, I'm going to say... yeah, I did say Roman, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, Roman.
In all honesty, it probably makes sense. I think it's really cynical to do it here. I think it's done purely because it is worth more money, because you could have... I think if you're looking at WrestleMania and you're saying, okay, everyone has completely rejected Roman Reigns as the champion. They hate the idea of it. They're going to destroy the match, which they did. They booed, they chanted, they threw beach balls, they wrecked that match. If he had won it, they would have booed the building down. And so I think a way around that is to go to the Saudi royal family and say, hey, pay us millions of dollars and we will cancel the thing we've been planning to do for 4 years at WrestleMania, and we'll do it at your show anyway. But in front of a bunch of people who don't know who any of these people are and are going to react to it like it's a local house show.
Yeah.
So you could say, this guy's the babyface, cheer for him, and they'll cheer for Roman Reigns because they don't know who he is.
And they will boo Brock as well.
Yeah, and you can stick the belt on him, and then you can have him come back. At which point, they better turn him heel. What can they do with a champion Roman Reigns other than turn him heel? Especially since Reigns is on the internet now on podcasts saying he wants to work with Daniel Bryan later this year. How, unless he is a heel, how do you put that man with Daniel Bryan and have him not get lynched by a crowd?
I don't think he can politic his way into getting DB anyway. But the thing is, it would be the perfect thing if he does a program with Joe and they swap roles like Austin and Brett.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be really good. I think a heel Reigns could be on fire. This is the great annoyance and great irony of Roman Reigns. He's a pretty good worker. In the right circumstances, he could be great. But not if you keep telling us he's something he isn't. He's not the guy. But maybe in Saudi he will be. And now the Greatest Rumble. Oh yeah, there's that as well.
Yeah, and some of them include Daniel Bryan, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, Shane McMahon, Kurt Angle.
Don't do it.
All of those.
50.
We're almost up to an hour. I think we are on an hour.
Great Khali's in it.
Yeah. Is it your pick?
No. My pick is I'm going to go Jericho. I'm going to go Chris Jericho. He's too part-time for them to give him a win in the main Royal Rumble anymore. I think they've always kind of wanted to, but there's always been someone else. So I think it's to be a nice way of keeping him sweet. And he's a big name. People will cheer for him. It'd be a nice story if he wins it. So I think Jericho.
Vintage, what do you think?
I'm going to go for Braun Strowman because he's the bookie's odds-on favourite to win.
Ah, sensible.
Yeah.
Idiots.
I'm going to go Daniel Bryan.
Cool.
He's my boy.
I was going to say just because you love him.
Yeah.
I would pick Carmella if I could.
Yeah.
Hey, she might come running out in a moustache.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in that match, because they're gonna do something. I reckon either one of them will come in and then there'll be like 20 guys in there that just all pile on Kevin Owens or something. That'll be quite cool.
Yeah, I think there'll be something quite nice going on there. But we'll see. So
that's it.
Is that it? That's it. That's the exciting show. So. It's going to be about 12 hours long. It's going to be, I think they're saying 5 hours, maybe 4 hours. It airs on Friday at 5 p.m. So you can come home from work and you can watch it. You can watch it live, which is a rare thing to be able to do in the UK. Ross, are you going to watch it live?
Nope, I'm working, which is fun. I won't be able to, I'll watch it on Saturday morning or something. Yeah.
Vintage, you going to watch it live?
As much as I can, yeah.
Nice.
Are you?
I am going to go to a bar, and then I'm going to go to a gastropub that serves German bratwurst, and then maybe I'll watch it later in the week.
Nice.
Because I'm excited about the Greatest Royal Rumble, this private house show that they're doing for a royal family, with some paid for booking. But I'm more excited about beer and sausages. So I'm going to be doing that whilst Vintage sends me a list of people who've had boob jobs lately from his I Spy book.
The other thing is Shane McMahon might win the Royal Rumble because he is on horse hormone.
Who isn't on horse hormone? We're all on horse hormone here.
On that note.
And on that note, from me, from Ross, from the champion of Apex.
I need to now go and call up my vet to get my top up.
I think you need to call your lawyer as well while you're at it. I hope you enjoy. We're down talking it because it doesn't promise a great deal, does this Greatest Royal Rumble, but that often means that it is going to be quite a good show. We did the same about Great Balls of Fire, and that was brilliant. So who knows? Maybe it will be a really good show, and even if it's not, Backlash is in a week, so we can enjoy it then. Thank you for listening, everyone, or maybe watching if this video feed works. We will see you when we see you, when we next fail to delete an episode.